What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Savage Arm Wrestling. I am live here today with Platinum Paul Passmore. First off, I'd like to thank you, Paul, for joining me here on Savage Arm Wrestling.
Glad to be here. It's really cool. I'm really looking forward to this opportunity with Knuckles Up coming up. This is yeah. Yeah. Hold on. Let me turn it. All right, and we're good. So, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Apologize about that. I had some kind of weird feedback. I just corrected it. First off, I want to jump into this. I've been following you for a little while. Way back, I used to follow a YouTuber named Wes Bjornson on The Grip. And while back, I've been following you for a long time since your injury. But first off, I want to Platinum Paul Passmore. I've never heard the nickname Platinum tied to your name before. Is that new, or how long have you had that nickname?
Actually, right before East versus West, I signed up, and they were going to announce my name, and the announcer guy was down there.
Nope. Looks like we lost him for a second. Looks like Paul's having some technical difficulties here.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. All right.
Okay.
So we heard up until you said the announcer. Oh, I think he shut his camera off. Let me.
No, I'm still here.
Okay, there we go. So yeah, we heard up until you said the announcer.
Yeah, the announcer was like, "You don't have a nickname," and I was like, "No." He goes, "What if we just throw one on there for you?" I was like, "Let's do it. Whatever sounds good." And he said, "Does Platinum Paul Passmore Triple P sound?" I was like, "Let's do it. Whatever." So we went with it, and it was a lucky nickname. The only time I ever arm wrestled, they called me that. It went well that day, so I figured I'd just run with it. I definitely been called worse.
Sometimes it works like that.
Yeah, well, he said, I'm an announcer, and that actually sounds kind of cool. Let's go with it. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. I'm a real spontaneous person anyway, so it sounded good to me, and it sounded pretty good when he announced it. But there's really no true meaning behind it of any sort. I wish I owned something platinum, but
well, hey, some of the greatest nicknames come from just shooting from the hip.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and in life, a lot of the time, just go with the flow. I do. If somebody suggests something and it sounds halfway cool, why not? If it went over and sounded stupid and I didn't like it, I wouldn't have brought it back up. But I figured it was a good luck game there, so we'll just go with it every chance to get.
Well, let's hopefully it sticks and we can hear it for future announcement and future matches. Because I actually kind of liked it. I was like, wow, that's catchy.
Yeah, I liked it too. I just figured we'd go with it. But yeah, it was honestly the random announcer's idea, and he kind of threw it out there jokingly, and I said, you know what, let's just do it.
So you've been in the game for a while now. So you've had your ups and downs, you have injuries, and a lot of those injuries define great athletes. But what would you say is your biggest achievement to yourself? Something that really stands out to you, and then what was one of your lows that you've had in the sport?
Well, I would definitely say, when I got into the sport, I always pulled the pro class and the amateur, even though I had no business pulling the pro class. And when I first started, I would jump I'd usually, even my first tournament as an amateur, I was really competitive. I've always been pretty decent in arm wrestling. But when I would pull those pros, even the worst pro in the pro class, I'd grip up and I couldn't move them. It was just insane how strong a professional arm wrestler was. Even one that would be lower end pro, it was crazy. And I'd always usually win or place top 2 or 3 in every amateur tournament. And then when I'd pull pro, I'd go 2 and out every time, just get starched. And I was like, how am I ever going to beat one of these guys? And after a year, the unwritten rule in amateur is you win 3 tournaments with each arm first place, then it's time to go pro in amateur. That's kind of the unwritten rule. And I've never been one to be a sandbagger, so it got to where I was pretty dominant in amateur, and I jumped up to pro. And honestly, I would say it took me probably over a year before I got my first pro win. And to this day, I'm probably more proud of getting my very first professional arm wrestling win. And once I won a couple, I bridged the gap pretty fast. Once I tell everybody, arm wrestling's kind of like football without the college level. You're going basically from high school football straight to the NFL. Like going from amateur to pro is a huge gap, especially 10 years ago. I think now the level's a little bit better in amateur and maybe a little bit lower in pro, but 10 years ago it was a giant step. And honestly, I just recall wanting to get that first professional win, and when I did, it was pretty cool. And then it didn't take long once I started winning to where I got pretty good and started winning most pro tournaments and stuff like that. And I got on a pretty good trajectory there for a while. And then I guess that kind of gets to my low point would definitely be where I broke my arm. I was really dominant. I was really doing some things. And, I got in a weird spot that I knew better than to be in. And I'd been there. It was to the point where a lot of my teammates and coaches were like, you need to get away from that press. Every time you lose your hand, you just go straight sideways with that press, and eventually you're going to get in trouble with that. And I probably should have listened to them, because eventually it caught me. The thing is, I can still do that, but I don't do it very much anymore. And if I do, I make sure I'm tight and I have my shoulder behind it, and I'm in really good position. I'm not as reckless with it. In a big match, I will pull it out. Like if you remember round 1 against Ahmed in East versus West, I did go see. I was losing my hand. I just went sideways with him. Part of my strategy, I wanted to get on his pronator. When you're sitting like this, you can only sit on your pronator so long before this smaller. It's just the muscle group before it burns out. And if I'm here on a press, I'm pretty comfortable, and I wasn't really even trying to force the pin. I was just having him at a place where he was in a nasty spot, pulling up with everything he had. And that was kind of part of my strategy, was get him in that position on round 1 and burn him up. And then, round 2 and 3, jam a hook when his pronator was burned up, and he couldn't do anything. He couldn't stop the hook after I burned him up on round 1. So that was my strategy there. But yeah, so I'd say, my lowest point ever was breaking that arm. I was going to quit the sport when I broke it. It was real detrimental. It caused me my job eventually. It wasn't too much longer before I got let go at work. It put me in a really bad spot. And then the pandemic hit about the same time. It was just a real, I don't know. The pandemic kind of helped me though, because they paid a lot more in unemployment than they ever have. So it kind of helped me, and it allowed me time to look for a job with that higher rate of unemployment than I normally would have been able to get, and be at home and rehabbing my arm. I just sat in my basement working out like all day, every day when I wasn't looking for a job. So I was able to rehab my arm a lot faster that way, I guess.
Well, I apologize to hear that you got pushed that far. I do know that sometimes when you do get injuries, it's very challenging to even come back to the sport. And it's humbling to hear that it even happens at the higher level that you were at, that it was a challenge to come back to the sport after your injury. But you were talking about your match with Ahmed.
Yes.
Right. And you already answered a bunch of my questions with that, and I didn't even have to ask them. Because you explained your game plan going in. It was to attack his pronator, get really deep on it, and then transition into the later rounds. But how was it being on the Challenger Series?
It was really cool. I enjoyed it. They put on a good show. It was a good honor. They treated this really well. It was neat. I was expecting to be able to kind of move faster towards a main card event with East versus West. I'm not really sure where my future lies with them right now. But, they didn't outright say we were going to qualify, but I kind of felt like, winning that was going to get me an opportunity on the main card, which it doesn't appear that it is. It's kind of we'll see how it ends up going. But at the end of the day, for whatever it was, I'm happy with it. It was a very fun memory. I got to compete on a big stage and beat my first true international opponent. He was the French national super heavyweight champion. And I was a little hesitant to take that match for two reasons. One is I've cut from about 295 pounds to about 235 pounds in the past year. And I got tired. I'm 6 foot tall, and I got tired of pulling these guys that are a head taller than me and 100 pounds heavier. And when I'm 290, I'm a little, I guess maybe a little stronger, but I haven't really lost much functional strength with losing this 70 pounds. Yeah. Especially arm wrestling strength, because I've maintained, even on pull-ups, the amount of weight that I've lost, I put a weight, around with the weighted belt around my waist and do pull-ups with them. So I'm still doing pull-ups with the same weight that I was or more than when I was heavy. All my numbers are about the same. And the other reason I was a little hesitant for the East-West match with Ahmed is they initially wanted to do it left-handed. And my left traditionally is my better arm, but for about the last year, it's been very beat up. Shoulder, elbow, and wrist. I can compete with it, but it's beat up. It's probably 70% of what it normally is. And during that same time period, my right arm made a miraculous recovery. So, my right was the one I wanted that match with. But that was my only option. So I went ahead and took it. I felt like I could still potentially win left-handed, but I definitely would have much rather have been right. And lo and behold, Dane Sellers was pulling Ahmed right-handed initially, and he managed to tweak his right, and he talked to me about it, and we just said, hey, could we get him to switch? That'd be the best thing ever. So a couple months out, we talked him into switching. So he ended up pulling Dane left, and that was Dane's better arm because he had tweaked something right, and he pulled me right. And I'm pretty sure he would have defeated me left, but my right is extremely healthy, and it's never been as strong as it is right now, even before I broke it. So my right was, ready for that match. And, I had a subpar. I don't want to take anything away from Uncle John because he got me that day left-handed, but I learned that day I need to not take any more left-handed matches until it's recovered a lot more. I mean, it's good for practice or some lower level tournaments, but it's not what it needs to be to represent what I feel it should when I'm on the table left-handed. So I'm just going to kind of take it right-handed for super matches, and luckily for me and Ji Hyun Min, we're going to be pulling right-handed. It knuckles up.
Yeah, that's what I was going to be ready to move into. Because you said you hadn't got a chance to be on a big card. Well, you're going to be on the biggest knuckles up card they've had thus far. It sounds like there's going to be almost from my understanding, 15 super matches, and it sounds like they might even add more. So it's already looking like an incredible card. And you will be facing Ji Hyun Min, the Korean #1 super heavyweight. What it sounds like is he's gonna meet you down at the lower weight class, but very similar to your match with Ahmed, he is a very strong top roller. Do you have a significant game plan going into this, or are you just going to attempt about the same strategy you had with Ahmed?
I've got a really good game plan for him. I feel like my style is just, styles can make matchups. You can take person A and person B and person C and have them face each other. And in arm wrestling, or this could apply to a lot of other sports, I've noticed, person A would beat person B because just the way they're connected and the way their styles match up. Person B could beat person C, same reason, and then person C can turn around and beat person A. It's like, who's the better arm wrestler? Well, it's hard to say. But all three of them were able to kind of beat the other one, and I would say they would probably all consistently beat each other that way because of styles. And with that said, I feel like my particular style, from what I've seen, I'm one of those, I'll do my homework on my opponents. And at this level, the guys you're going to face in these big matches and stuff like that, there's not going to be a lot of secrets. You're not hiding anything. You got a lot of footage of you out there doing what you do in order to get kind of where you're at. And I've been studying G, and I watch what, you got to figure out what that person's main style is, what their go-to is when their back's against the wall, what they really want to do, what they do best. Everybody wants to do what they do best initially, and then when they get in trouble, go back to it. And what I do best against what he does best, I feel like I'm going to be a really bad matchup, style-wise. Where I go and where he goes, the way we're going to go against each other. Now, there will be adjustments, and then there will have to be discipline and endurance and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, we all know if there's a big enough strength gap, no amount of technique or speed can overcome that. But I feel like the strength will be closer, but my style and the angle of my attack versus his, I think I'm going to be a rough match for him personally. I've studied. I feel really good about this one.
Loving the confidence. I'm going to say that. I'm loving the confidence. Looking forward to this match. Personally, I think it's going to be one of the good matches on the card. I'm excited to see you on the Knuckles Up stage, rocking that purple. I'm a big fan of.
Yes, I can't wait. It's such an honor. Yeah. It really is. It's such an honor. I think it's going to be amazing.
Me personally, I'm a big fan of Knuckles Up. I like what they're doing. I like how they set up the matches, because a lot of the times it doesn't seem like they're just trying to set number one up against number one. It looks like they're just trying to put on great arm wrestling matches, not only giving people opportunities that they've never been given, and it's just, I think it's what we've been missing for a little while in arm wrestling, giving these new people their name.
The sport needs Knuckles Up so bad. They're doing what 99.9% of the sport says they wish somebody would do behind closed doors. We are all sick of watching every big promotion regurgitate the same eight to 10 guys. Everything we've seen, like I said, I got into the sport around 2014. I've been in about 10 years. And, when Wall came out, everybody was just all about Wall. And it was the coolest thing going. I was just giddy, watching a Wall match and all that. I wanted to be part of it myself. And I wasn't there yet really during the Wall days. Now, my coach, mentor in the sport, Ron, he was in there a lot. And Ron Bath, I trained with him. He's, become like a, father figure and family member to us. We're all very close. We lived near each other and trained together all the time. And getting to watch him on TV, doing all that at Wall. And then, I've kind of noticed a lot of the promotions, they use those same guys. And nobody else, there's a lot of other talented, very talented pullers, even that level guy out there that just doesn't seem to ever get a shake. And somebody like Knuckles Up, they're actually finding these people that have just been kept out of the political hemisphere of pulling, for these bigger name things, and they're getting a chance. And then, and honestly, a lot of these bigger promotions, you're seeing people who don't really deserve the chance over a lot of people that do. People that's earned it on the table, actually being a professional arm wrestler and putting in their dues, and not a big social media personality. They're just a good athlete, but somebody that's not even an arm wrestler really gets on there before them in a big arm wrestling tournament, just because they have a massive social media following, and so what I'm seeing with Knuckles Up is they're rewarding arm wrestlers for being arm wrestlers. And that's very refreshing. And you get to see some names and some people are like, finally, that guy got to be on a big card and a big show. This is awesome. I've been wanting to see him go. He deserves that, And How many times have you seen one of the guys from Knuckles Up where everybody's like, man, he really deserves it. Finally, he's getting a shot. That's almost every card, half the people on it.
I'm one of these people. So I'm from Japan. Everybody pretty much knows that, and I've been throwing names constantly. I've been like, hey, what do you think of this guy? What do you think of this guy? Luckily, I was able to get somebody who I think deserved a shot at one of these big matches, Toshiyuki. And he's one of those athletes that you're talking about. He's never really been given an opportunity. He doesn't have like a big social following, but look at him now, right? He just recently knocked out Madurangi, and no one would have ever thought that, this super heavyweight from Japan was that elite, and it would never happen if it wasn't for Knuckles Up. Speaking of Knuckles Up, the high five arm wrestling is in the chat. Thank you guys for joining the chat. But yeah, you're speaking of like what I really am passionate about when it comes to Knuckles Up. You got Jason Merlot. Jason Merlot is now exploding. He's one of those athletes, again, that went from chasing down people to now being the guy being chased.
Yes.
And
very deserving. Yeah, I've been watching him.
And I could see something similar happening for you. Like, you're going to be the guy that everybody's gunning for on the Knuckles Up table in the future.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I like doing business and working with people that I trust, and a lot of that, I think we're given instincts and just gut feelings for a reason. I think that's a legitimate survival mechanism that was passed down from our ancestors. Literally, kind of that sixth sense feeling. If something isn't quite right, it's probably not. I think there's a lot to it. You need to trust that gut feeling. And I've dealt with some promotions where I just had a horrible feeling, still do. And I've had other promotions that I've dealt with and they felt amazing. And there was the trust there, and I had a nice lighthearted feeling, and just everything's good. And with Knuckles Up, it's all really good feels. And I'm willing to really jump in with these people. I can't wait to meet everybody in person. But everything I've dealt with so far and everything I've heard, these are some good people to deal with, and they're really there to make a great show and promote the sport and promote a lot of pullers that otherwise probably wouldn't get the opportunities that they're getting. And it's an honor to be part of something like that. I consider myself a really good natured person, and I like to associate myself with other people that are that way too, that I can trust and be comfortable around. And when you have good people and you have a good name, you go far in whatever you do. If you take care of your name and reputation, I think there's other promotions out there that the name and reputation is constantly embattled, and you just don't need that whenever you're trying to sell in anything. You don't want to be constantly embattled all the time, and go find somebody that can say something bad about Knuckles Up. You're not going to.
Yeah. So we got Candy Passmore jumping in the chat. Knuckles Up is the way to go. Very thankful for giving Paul and all these other athletes a chance to shine. Hard work does not go unnoticed. 100%. 100% agree with that.
Yep. And, to further that, it's really cool because Ron is going to be on the same card. And so's Cody Wood. I was very excited to hear Cody Wood's another one of my teammates. He's one of those guys. He's really good. He's really, really good. He's phenomenal.
He's actually someone that I'm looking to get on the channel. Getting on the channel next. Because for those of you who have not heard that announcement yet, Cody Wood will be taking on Hellboy. And I am extremely excited about that, because I think a lot of people are going to count Cody out, and that is far from the truth.
It is. I'll go ahead and tell you, Hellboy's, he's a 150-pounder with a super heavyweight arm. When you saw Hellboy pulling Dave Chaffee or a lot of those other super heavyweights, his arm looks kind of to be about the same size as these larger gentlemen. And we have one thing about Team Georgia is we are extremely top heavy. We got a lot of heavyweights a lot of teams are kind of the other way. They have a lot of smaller guys and not many heavyweights. We've got a ton of really big banging pro heavyweight pullers that's been around a while. So our practices are pretty brutal. We spar a lot, 100%, for most of the practice and do a little teaching here and there, but it's mostly just sparring and going and practicing ready goes and hitting and stuff like that. And Cody he beats most of our pretty high level pro supers. He'll catch a win on me or Ron or anybody in practice sometimes too. You can't just say because Hellboy has a super heavyweight arm on a 150-pound body that's going to give him a massive advantage, because when you see Cody, he almost looks like he's got a super heavyweight arm at 150 pounds too. The boy's pretty jacked, in good shape. So yeah, I'm very excited. I'm very excited about it. That's going to be a good one. Plus, to be honest with you, in the after pulls and stuff, I definitely want to grip up with Hellboy. I may be, if I got to grip up with him and pull around with him, I may be about the only person that ever got to arm wrestle Jeff Dave left and Hellboy right. The two biggest arms in the sport.
I think, give me a second. A High Five Arm Wrestling just dropping something in the chat. Speaking of Toshi, are you guys hinting at something? If so, I'm interested. Sounds like they may be hinting at something here.
Now's always a good time to drop a bomb.
Oh man. Maybe. Oh, I'm curious now.
I think that's a big hint drop right there, and I think we can probably draw some conclusions. There's probably something in the works.
There might be a Toshi. Oh, here it is.
There it is.
Breaking news.
Nick Stone and
Another
Toshi.
match added to the card. Toshiyuki Shishido will be facing Nick Stone. Wow.
Nick Stone's a beast too. That's going to be a good one. I know there were people trying to get me and Nick together when I was still a super heavyweight. I think our ranks were one apart in the super heavyweight top 10 at one point. And so I studied him a minute because he was looking like a prospective opponent, and that guy's a beast. And I know Toshi is. So that's going to be a good one. That's going to be a really good.
Talking about a big drop in the middle of a live. Thank you guys for that kind of information. That's awesome. That is amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah,
circling back to an earlier comment they dropped. So they're thinking Candy. Hopefully we can see you on a card in the near future, one of the power couples of the sport. How would you feel about that, Paul? You and her on a card together on Knuckles Up someday in the future. How would you feel about that?
I'll tell you. Yes, I would love that. That'd be great. Candy's my she's if you ever listen to any video, you can hear her cheering for me, and it gives me another 10 horsepower when I can hear her cheering in the crowd. She definitely helps a lot. And there's been some matches that were tough, and in the middle of the match, I'll look at her and she'll just point at me and tell me to get my shit together. Kind of clears the cloud out of the way a little bit. I can get back in there and pull. But yeah, she's in to talk about her right now. She's at 135 pounds and has been taking the sport and the training and working out and stuff a lot more serious. She's in the best shape she's ever been in right now. And at 135 pounds, she can bang with about any of them. She is really good right now. She's beat some people that's had her number for a while. At that weight, she'd be a good one to have on there for sure. She would be very competitive against most anybody you could get on there with her at that weight.
Well, now my gears are turning.
So yeah, that'd be fun.
My gears be turning. Because
I'm going to tell you, I got a 15-year-old son that everybody needs to watch out for over the next few years. You're going to see him. This kid's already a freak. He is already a freak.
The high five is already wrong. Something. It's not just a arm wrestling power couple. It sounds like it's an arm wrestling power family.
Oh yeah, even my 8-year-old boy. My 8-year-old boy usually win the little kids class, and he's a lot of fun to watch. I don't know if you've ever caught a video of him, but it's funny. He's like screaming the whole time and just,
Those are the best ones.
And then it is. And to see both of my sons have been arm wrestling since they could walk, So I read a study when I was younger, whenever you learn a skill when you're younger, you learn it with a different part of your brain, and you're just better at it through life. And so, that's how John Brezink and Bill Brezink came up too. Their dad was a pro arm wrestler. And that's one of the reasons John's so good, is he learned it with that part of his brain that was still developing, and then, carried it on throughout his whole life. So that's literally been part of his DNA, is arm wrestling. And, John's came out to my house a couple times and trained. And I remember he was having a conversation with my older son, and they had a similar arm break injury at the same age. It wasn't a broken humerus, but it was like a piece of the one of the tendons pulled a chunk of bone off when they were both arm wrestling. They were both about 13, and they were both able to stabilize it and cast it, and it healed back. But both of them, actually, their arm healed back where they couldn't straighten it the way they could. And, it may have kind of given both of them a little bit of an advantage. Also, the way it healed back a little bit tighter.
That's one of the crazy things about the arm wrestling sport. You break yourself, you only come back stronger.
Yeah, I know. It took forever with my broken arm, and just the craziest thing, that it was back, and I was trying to top roll everybody, and I developed a pretty decent top roll during that time period when I couldn't hook everybody. And I was in a tournament, and this guy jammed me into a hook that I was trying to stay out of it, and he was ripping everybody's arm off in the hook, and all of a sudden jammed me in it and didn't move me. I'm like, it don't really hurt, because normally it was when they cut through my bicep. I don't know if you can see or not, but it messed up my ability to have a good static lock. A lot of having that hook is catching in that static hold and then using your whole body to pull them over. Well, when I would try to, after they cut through my bicep, which is kind of a weird thing, most people you see with the arm break, they go through the tricep, they would hit, and I'd try the static lock that I developed over all those years, and they just peel me open. And I was like, well, if I can never get my static strength back, and I worked at it, and my goal, what I would tell everybody, I'm either going to get my right arm back or I'm going to die trying, and I was just over those few years fantasizing, man, what I would give to have my right arm back like it was before I broke it. And during that random tournament, a guy jammed me into a hook, and, he was about a 350-pound super heavyweight, and he couldn't move me. And I was like, I'm just going to go with it. And I ripped him over. I was like, okay, well, I guess my arm's back. It was the craziest thing. It got jammed into a hook, and it had healed, and I didn't even realize it. So I developed all the pronation and back pressure trying to hide my hook, and then all of a sudden it came back. So my right arm's it's so healthy. Nothing hurts on it. Knock on wood. Everything's good.
Well, sometimes a lot of that comes, it's like a psychological thing. To where even as much as you try to get your body ready for it, your mind just isn't ready until that adrenaline kicks in the middle of an extreme moment. And then boom, you suddenly get that realization, your body doesn't fight it anymore, and it just goes back to full gear. Sounds like you might have experienced a little bit of that right there. Because when he jammed you in that hook and you catching it, I bet you it was a huge adrenaline rush right at that moment.
It did. It shocked me, because that dude had a nasty hook, and he was just blowing through all these other super heavyweights, and he jammed me in it, and I was like, oh, hey, I didn't move, and I feel good. I feel really good. Maybe I can pull him over, and did. So I thought that was pretty crazy. And you're right. Coming back from something like that physically is very difficult, and coming back mentally is also very difficult. It takes a lot of courage or stupidity or whatever you want to call it, to put your arm back on the table after you broke it.
Well, we ain't known for being the brightest
it's
sport
just
either. So, we ain't got a lot to.
Yeah, I know. I tell people I fought MMA for 10 years. It got hurt way worse arm wrestling than I ever did in MMA. And that's what, if you watch May's West post-match interview with Devin, I said this arm, a few years ago was broken, and everybody, counted me out. And through all this dedication and time and effort, it came back, and I just beat the French champion on this big stage. And, it just felt good to fully be back and have that arm back doing what it used to do, and, being able to live my dream again of doing this sport that I love at the highest level I can do it at, and competing with the best competition. And that was one reason I couldn't really step away from the sport. I've just grown in the community so much. I have so many friends that if I stepped away, all my friends are arm wrestlers now. I don't know what I'd do. I'd be lost in life. So just the camaraderie and friendship and the family feel of it and traveling, and I just love doing it. And I couldn't step away. It has me. I'm stuck with it on some form or fashion. I'll be one of those guys. I'll be like Ron in my 60s. Hopefully I can pull like Ron's pulling in his 60s. But yeah, he's still, I'm telling you right now, that guy's a freak of nature. I'm a high level, pro heavyweight that's 20 years younger, and he beats me more than I beat him in practice. It's pretty crazy. We're about the same weight now. I mean, I get him some, but he's still, he's got definitely the winning record between us. A normal person, when they get to that age, they look like an old grandpa in their mid 60s, and Ron still looks like he did 20 years ago. He just doesn't age.
Still looks like a monster.
You see him in person, he looks
looks like a monster. Yeah, he's actually one of the people that because I was trying to get to the Knuckles Up, not as a competitor, but just to watch the live, to be a part of the live there, Knuckles Up 5. Unfortunately, doesn't seem like I'm going to make it. I'm still trying to get there. And the opportunity to grip up with you, Ron, some of those other great athletes that are going to be there, it would have been a blessing. Just the opportunity to have all those great athletes that are going to be on this card and one area pulling each other. It's phenomenal.
I know.
I think
I'll get giddy about it too. Really, the match itself is I look forward to it so much, but then just the guys that are going to be there, that will have the opportunity to grip up with and after pull with, and that just shoot the breeze with. That's going to be pretty cool. I'm really looking forward to both aspects of that. And
so if you could pick one person,
and being in that region of the country,
so if you could pick one person out of that group right now that we know of to after pull with, who would it be? Who's the one that you're most excited about so far?
Two of them. God, I don't want to butcher his name.
Matarangi.
Matarangi. Okay, I didn't butcher it too bad. and Hellboy. I just think it'd be cool. Yeah, two guys from different regions of the planet, and I've been watching them both for a while, and I've always just wanted to grip up and go and see what it's all about. I think it'd be fun pulling with them too. There's a few people, that basically everybody there that's on the card that I like, other than Cody and Ron that I train with, I'm really interested in getting on the table with. But those are probably my first two out of everybody.
You got to get those ones in while you're fresh, before your arm's dead.
Yes. Yep. Kind of a advanced puller trick whenever everybody gets out and starts really grabbing each other. Give it about 10 to 15 minutes before you really jump in there. and then you look like King Kong when you first jump in.
All right, circling back.
Because everybody's so giddy.
Circling back to your match. So I put up a big vote. I will state that a lot of my followers are in the Asian area, so do not take this poorly. Right. But this is what it looks like for them, right? So a lot of people, it looks like it's a 70-30 cut, with a lot of people putting their eyes on G actually pulling away with this.
Well, they may be right. There's only one way to find out. I go into every match with that as a distinct possibility. That's how, even if the people think I'm the favorite, I go into the match thinking I'm not. That motivates me when I'm in the gym. I'm tired. I'm about done. Then I think about it. This guy's training. He's probably going to beat me. Or if I don't really close the gap, he's going to be the favorite here. I've got to put in the work. I'll train harder for another 30 minutes or get those last couple extremely painful reps of whatever I'm doing. And, it helps put me to that next level. So, and I always pull way better when I'm the underdog. You tell me, if everybody's telling me I'm going to win, it just seems like I don't have that last gear.
Oh, yeah.
I can really reach down, but if everybody keeps telling me I'm not, and I go in and I feel like I'm the underdog, it seems like if that match is tough, but it's winnable, it just seems like it gives me one more click. I can click it one more gear down and really reach down a little bit further just to prove all the people wrong that doubted me.
Oh, yeah. I 100% get where you're going with it, and I agree with that underdog mentality, especially when it comes to being in the gym. I feel like that really gives you that extra drive, that extra motivation to really, exactly what you said, kill those extra few reps and push that much harder to just prove everyone wrong. Now, if you had an opportunity to send a message to G, what would it be?
Well, with that said, from what I understand about G, is he's a gentleman, nice guy. And I consider myself a pretty nice guy as well. And I just say, best of luck to you. Train really hard. I'm going to be training hard, come in healthy, and may the best man win. Yeah. I promise you, I'm gonna show up. It'll be the best version of me anybody's ever seen, and that's gonna be hard to beat. You can put me on the table with anybody at that weight. You don't care who it is, and they're gonna have if they do win, they're gonna walk off licking their wounds. So if he does win, he's gonna have to walk through hell to do it. Just be ready to fight. Nobody has ever had an arm wrestling match with me if they won or lost and walked off and said that was easy. I definitely will bring the fight. I got a lot of heart. I've been down 0-2 and come back and won, 3-2 before. It's happened a few times. I have no quit. So you don't have me beat until that match is over.
So what you're saying is, G, you better come for war.
Yeah, be ready to reach down deep because if you're not, it's going to be even harder to beat. Yep.
So looking at what Knuckles Up had put out, including the two newly announced matches, Cody and Hellboy, as well as the announcement today that we just got from the High Five, Toshiyuki Shishido and Nick Stone. Besides your own match, what match are you most looking forward to watching?
Well, we got a lot of them. Sarah Bachman's a good friend of mine and Candy's, and I always love watching her compete. She is a fierce competitor. She is just such a pit bull. Love watching her. I think any match she's in is going to be a great one to watch. And then Ron, I always love watching him pull. I'm extremely excited about both of them. And then, in all honesty, Cody and Hellboy. I'd have to say about a 3-way draw. Like this is a really good card.
You got Jason Merlot,
Mirlene.
You got,
me and Mirlene was one of the first matches, and Mirlene's she's my sister. That we're very close. We're very close. Her and my wife are best friends. We hang out a lot, train together a lot. And gosh, Mirlene is just a killer on the table. So I can't wait to see her match too. I'll be cornering her in her match, and she'll be cornering me in mine.
Okay. So I have a little tidbit on that one. So, Yoshiko is actually a close friend of ours. She actually coaches my daughter. So, yeah.
Oh, cool.
So that's actually a match that I'm looking forward to as well. Because I don't think a lot of people know about. We call her Yasi. It's kind of her nickname. But a lot of people don't know about her and how she was a world champion years ago, and she just kind of came back to the sport, started rolling some heads again, and it's awesome to see her get on the stage. Yeah. I think she's got a great opponent too. I think it's going to be a great match.
Yes, I do too. I mean, what is Yasi weigh?
She is in the. I think she's in the. She is in the 65 kilogram weight class. So
okay.
I'm just going to toss it in there. A high five if you're still there. 65 kilograms. That's about Candy's weight class. There's an opportunity there as well. just drop that hint right now.
Yeah. I mean, Candy will be there. either way, she'll be there. Candy's only a right arm puller though. Right now, she doesn't pull left. She's working on her left, but she hasn't developed her left to anywhere near her right. It's kind of like my left and right. My left's down from just, I wouldn't say it's injured, but it's as beat up as it can possibly be and not be called injured. It's like about 1% on my shoulder, elbow, or wrist, and I would say it's injured. I mean, that's how beat up my left is. And Candy's just always been a right-handed arm wrestler. She hasn't quite developed the coordination in her left to compete at a higher level, that she can on her right anyway. Something like this, I feel like Candy would be good for right-handed, with anybody around.
I would say that most of the time when I see Yossi pull, it's right-handed. So looks like Merlin has a.
Is Mir and Yossi's match is right-handed, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that match. I'm also looking forward to Stoica and Jason Merlot. I think that's going to be a great match. That whole card just looks amazing.
It does. It was hard to, when you asked me that, I've been called out for talking around the question a few times, so I tried to answer as directly as I could. But really, every match on there's, Don Underwood's my buddy. I like watching him pull. He's going to be there. I mean, just so many guys. Guys and gals. I'm really excited about watching a lot of these. I'm just a big fan of the sport. So while I'm not competing or cornering, I'm just going to be fanboying and watching like, oh my gosh, I love
That's
this.
the great thing about arm wrestling is not only are we all, not all of us, but a lot of us are competitors, but we are also massive fans. We got Benji Mack in the chat. What's up, Benji? Welcome to the live. I'm here with Paul Passmore. Look at him. He looks massive. He looks ready. He looks ready for his match coming up.
Yeah, I'm definitely right-handed. I'm going to be very, very difficult for anybody at my weight. Whatever angle you take, whatever lane you take, you're going to have an extremely difficult. I don't really have a weak spot right-handed right now, and I'm extremely healthy. So it's pretty cool. I think at this level, a big part of being successful is coming in as healthy as possible. You're not going to really, in a few months' time, you're not going to really gain a significant amount of strength or probably not gain any more knowledge or skill to make you significantly better. You got to train as smart as possible to come in as healthy as possible and be in as good a shape as you can be, cardio, strength, endurance, everything you can.
It is a combat sport.
And just be as technically and be really, really laser focused and have a good game plan and backup plans and have it thought out before you're up there under fire. I learned that when I was fighting. Think about, envision any situation you can be in a fight. I'm sure you've had martial arts training of some sort and probably competed in something. And, you got to think, what if the guy takes me down? What's going to be the first thing I want to do? Because or what if I take him down, or what if I get hit and stumbled and I get knocked down or knock him down, or, you create these scenarios in your head and then think about the first move and then backup move you want to do for everyone, but have a definite, this is what I want to do when you're clear-minded before you go out there in the arena. Because sometimes when you're out there in the arena and you got thousands of people and the lights and all that, you can lose focus and not really thinking, kind of panic, like, well, what should I do? He just took me down. Oh my God, I didn't really see this happen. Instead of, all right, I've already thought about this. This is what I thought to do. And I was really clear headed. I'm going to do that. You just already know what you're going to do in every situation. And I try to take that approach and apply it to arm wrestling as well. Okay, let's say I'm here and the guy's got my hand. What do I want to go here? Or, if he's taking this approach, what's going to be my counter? And, try to think through a lot of different potential scenarios I could see myself in and know right what to do immediately without trying to adjust on the fly.
Oh,
just trying not to shoot from the hip.
You almost create, like, I always I always associate all of arm wrestling with mostly muscle memory, because you have to train your body to trigger automatically, because these instances happen so fast that you really don't have the time just to think about it. And that's why I compare it to a combat sport. You called me out on it. I started wrestling when I was 5, so I grew up competing in a sport where it's like you almost had to develop that muscle memory for every little situation. Those fast twitch muscles have to be ready.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how after you do something for a while, it's an acquired skill, but your body will just do it. When I'm wrestling, if somebody goes to shoot on me, I'm gonna just sprawl, and it's not like I think about it. My body just sprawls. That shot's coming, wham. And it's weird. And with arm wrestling the same way to a point. When you do it enough, a certain something will happen, and you'll just react a certain way. Apply. It's kind of like that. Unless you're a wrestler, you don't really understand when somebody says wrestlers balance, but you can feel a person's weight when you're engaged, and you like instantly know I can throw him, or I can move him, or I can roll him, just because the way their weight settled is weird. It's like another skill you acquire. You don't really realize it. Same with arm wrestling. You can be in a certain position, you be like, and you can just apply some pressure a certain way and come right back out of a bad spot. A lot of the time,
if you learn those,
there's
that balance of pressure. That's the way I like to put it, and that's the way I've always learned is when you're applying one way, other doors open, and that's a big thing with arm wrestling. When you start to go inside, people really commit to that inside, and sometimes they let some of those positions loosen up a little bit to concentrate where they're attacking, and that's really where those gaps begin to open. I think that's a big hint of information you give right there, is speaking about that, is like how that's your mindset. And when you think about that, that you're more versatile than people, I think, would give you credit for. Because a lot of time we always see you go into that one position where you jam in real hard into that side pressure, that hook, applying a lot of pressure on their pronator. I think you did. So a lot of the matches that I've seen you pull, you fall really into that. That seems to be your real sweet spot. And you naturally fall into it. But you also watch you adjust just as you feel those pressures open. I don't think a lot of people are ready for it. I don't think they realize that, and they catch on to it.
Yeah, it's pre-arm break. I'll be the first one to tell you I was a one-trick pony. I was going to jam you in a hook and go. And if you took my hand, I was going to keep going sideways with you with my wrist back. And if you could stop it, so be it. And there wasn't many people that could. I just line down and do that and keep doing it, and usually would win. And after I broke my arm, it forced me. If I was going to pull in the tournament, I could not hook at all. It was excruciating, and I had no power in it initially. So, but the my pronator didn't hurt, and I was watching a video Devin did, and he said, sometimes if you're hurt and you learn to pull with different muscles and different techniques, it can make you better, and you're not going to stay injured indefinitely.
Yeah.
So it pushed me out of my comfort zone. And whenever I do something, my rule is whatever I do with one arm, I'm going to do with the other, or do as close to it as it's capable of at the time, depending on how banged up one arm is versus the other. But it forced me to become a lot more technical. So I spent a few years really just only able to top roll right-handed. As a result, I trained left-handed the same way. If I was going to be developing that skill with one arm, I wanted to be as comfortable with the other arm. So it gave me a lot more of an outside game. And I spent a lot of time strengthening my hand and wrist for that too. And then, so I got pretty good at it over the next few years to where I was competitive. I wasn't as dominant as I was, but I'd win a smaller tournament or place top 3 in most bigger tournaments. And I was an outside puller for years. And like I said, all of a sudden I realized my hook was back, and back better than it ever was before I broke it. It just miraculously healed. And I had developed this much more outside game and hand and wrist strength to, if I wanted to keep it inside, I can fight your hand and wrist more so than I used to, and keep my hand and wrist and still jam it inside. It made my inside game better than it ever was because of the additional strength I added in other places to be able to stay competitive. So, you know, I took a step back and took about 3 forward at this point from the arm break, you know, so I'm way better than I've ever been technically. And I've had a lot of referees pull me aside after a tournament, and you know, they're like, you pull so much smarter and more technical than you used to. It's crazy watching you pull now, and it's crazy watching you just outsmart people on the table. Just take everything, work a good technique, and, you know, not even engage the guy. It's just, you know, not after pulling for this long, I really needed to start pulling a little bit smarter, you know, but the ability to go complete meathead is still there, and I've got to combat that sometimes, you know, and then sometimes let it go.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's time to release the beast.
Oh, yeah.
Go there, you know.
Sounds like your significant other is taking some of the credit for your top roll and your increased pronator strength.
Yeah, she actually did. When I was coming back from the broken arm, she could beat me in arm wrestling for a while, which is crazy. Like, legitimately beat me when I was rehabbing it, and I couldn't pull inside at all. My arm just wouldn't do it, and so, you know, she worked with me a lot on it. She's a good top roller, and, you know, from teaching martial arts and stuff all those years that I taught them, I learned that when you teach a female something, they learn the technique of something. It seems like a lot faster than a guy does. You know, when I was teaching a female how to box or something, they would listen to the technique, and they're not just trying to hit the pads as hard as they can to show you how strong they are. They're just learning the technique. They pick it up faster, and Candy's technique is really good on the outside game. So she definitely helped me level up, you know. So it was pretty cool having a wife that understood that and could kind of help me learn how to arm wrestle a different way, where I could keep competing right-handed while I was, you know, healing.
Well, that's a great it's a great story to hear, that it wasn't just you alone trying to become back to the stage again. It was you had her in your corner helping you get there.
Yeah, you know, me and my wife both, we came from nothing. Yeah. We really did. We were jobless and homeless when we got together, and we've built a pretty nice life together. We've definitely been in each other's corner, and now we got 2 sons, and they're in our corner too. You know, when you come after one of us, you got all of us now. And,
so is the whole family going to be at the event? Oh yeah, that's.
Yes. However, we're bringing the boys up there. I want them to be part of that. This is like I said, such a wonderful opportunity. I definitely want them to be part of that and see it and experience something like this. You know, we took them to the East versus West also, and, you know, I was able to call them on the stage after I got my win, and, you know, I'm all about family, really. I'm just a family guy that likes to arm wrestle, and got pretty decent at it. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's, you know, God and family are first, and then arm wrestling's a you know, third place. But, you know, luckily my whole family loves arm wrestling as much as I do. My wife and both of my sons are on fire for it, really. And like I said, my 15-year-old, he's 154 pounds. He can deadlift about 400 pounds. Bench 225. He's squatting like 315. He can hit a backflip, and he's been winning most men's 154 amateur class tournaments. He's a freak of nature.
It sounds like he's going to watch out for.
He's a wrestler. Yeah, it's already to the point when I wrestle around with him, I can't play anymore. I got to go at him like I would another grown man, or he'll throw me. He's really a tough kid. So, and I see him pulling these men's amateur classes, and these guys are ripping up with him thinking, what is this kid doing? Now, he looks stout and all that, but he still does look like a 15-year-old. And he'll just rip their arm off. And you can just see the shock in their face. Oh, my God, this kid is strong, and he knows what he's doing, and he's fast. You know, he's I can't imagine what he's going to be doing you know, when he hits to be about 18 and a little of that man strength starts kicking in. He's going to really be something.
Well,
because he's grown up doing every practice, we'll practice an hour or two, and he's in there the whole time with a bunch of pretty good high-level pro men his weight training, you know, and so that's all he's ever done.
Well, Paul, we're reaching about that 60-minute mark. about that hour mark. I want to thank you for coming on the channel with us here. Savage Arm Wrestling. You were actually my second interview ever, and I want to say that it was an honor to have you here, especially among the first few people that I got on this channel. Your story is amazing, built on family and arm wrestling. It gives, I think that's a big motivation to build on for even other athletes.
Well, Levi, it was an absolute honor to be on your show. You did it well. Everything went really well. I've been on a lot of podcasts. I enjoyed this. It was a good conversation. I see your show becoming something pretty big. If you want to, maybe try to line up something with me and G. We're both on there, maybe talking when we get a little bit closer to the show. Does he? I don't know. Is there a community? Is there a language barrier?
There's going to be a language barrier, but I might be able to find me a translator. And we might,
that'd be cool. Even if it's just for a few minutes or something, that'd be pretty fun. We get to see, because I know with Ahmed, he spoke fluent English, so we were able to do some, podcast together and talk and kind of see each other a little bit before we got to meet in person. But from what I hear, G's a gentleman, really nice guy. That's what I've ever heard.
From everything I've heard and everything I've seen, he really is. So everybody out there, you guys can catch Paul Passmore facing Ji Hyun Min at Knuckles Up 5. Do not miss it. It's going to be a great match. It's going to be incredible. I see this being a ridiculous, crazy war. I don't know if it's going to go the whole distance, being like a 7-round match, but it's definitely going to be a battle on that table. You all stay savage out there, and I'll catch you